All right, so 1990s Predator 2. This is obviously the sequel to the 1987 Predator film, and this one is directed by Stephen Hopkins and written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas. Not sure if they're related, but I would imagine most likely. And the cast here, we have Danny Glover as Lieutenant Mike Harrigan. We also have Gary Busey as Peter Keyes, Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator, Ruben Blades as Danny Archuleta, Maria Cochita Alonso, hopefully I'm saying all that right, playing Leona Cantrell, and then Bill Paxton as Jerry Lambert. That is pretty much the main cast for you there, and essentially what sets this film apart from the original is that it's not set in a jungle, but in LA. So I guess in a way, LA is kind of a jungle, especially in the time that this is set in. There's a lot of just rioting on the streets, there's gangs everywhere. Yeah, it's definitely a madhouse. I believe this takes place in 1997, so that would be, I don't know specifically when the first one was set, but, maybe 10 years after that. But, yeah, let me see here. So I guess they were kind of like predicting what the history of LA would be, but I don't think they were completely right or also completely wrong. I don't know. LA is a crazy place, but yeah, Danny Glover in here as the main character, Mike Harrigan. He is definitely a badass, and he doesn't play by the rules whatsoever. Then you have Gary Busey as Peter Keyes, who is this guy that just kind of comes in, starts running the show. Mike Harrigan doesn't really trust him, and he has some secrets that he isn't telling people. Obviously, Kevin Peter Hall, the Predator. I like the design for the Predator in this film. I mean, it's not completely different from the original, but I don't know. Whenever you see the Predator, and it's like a what's the word I'm looking for? They're using practical effects on the suit. I always like the way they do that because I like practical effects so much better than visual effects, and most of the time, practical effects end up looking a lot better, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely the practical use of the actual person in the suit and the design of the suit, and just I guess the body in general, I thought was really cool in this movie, as always. Really, um, Danny Archuleta, played by Ruben Blades. Um, I don't know. I don't really want to spoil anything, but I guess saying I don't really want to spoil anything kind of spoils it already. So I might as well just say it. This film came out in 1990, so it's been out for a while, but that character dies, so we don't really spend a whole lot of time with this character, so don't really get to know him a whole lot. But Leona Cantrell, she's definitely an interesting character. She is a badass woman for sure, and does not take any shit from any dude, so yeah. Uh, Good for her. And then Bill Paxton as Jerry Lambert. Let me tell you, I don't think I've ever been more annoyed by any other character in a movie before I saw Jerry Lambert played by Bill Paxton. And nothing against the actor, but it's just the material he was given. He only really has one redeemable moment, but for the rest of the movie, he's just being the most obnoxious, over the top character. And at the same time, like, these movies are supposed to be kind of parodies of action movies and these types of characters. Especially the first one, I would say, is like kind of a parody on the action genre, which is funny because this film is almost like a parody of the first film in a way, in some ways here. You know, there's certain lines that they say in the original film that they bring back here. One, for example, is and I'm gonna have to swear for this, "You're one ugly motherfucker." And the interesting thing there was that Mike was saying, "You're one ugly," and then the Predator said, "Motherfucker." So yeah, the Predator in this movie kind of talks quite a few times, um, which before in the first film it seemed more like an audio recording, kind of somewhat distorted, but in here they're actually like talking. So that's kind of weird, but I mean, I'm not 100% against it, I guess. But I don't know. It's still weird to see them say, there's literally a line in here where the Predator says shit happens. And I'm just like, what am I watching right now? But yeah, let me look at my notes here. Rather than being set in the jungle, like I already said, it's set in the jungle and revolves around a group of soldiers. This is set in L.A. and revolves around cops. So Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, he's on the force, he's on the squad, he's out there. Danny Glover has played a cop many times for sure, so I think he does it pretty well. And here he is almost more like a soldier in a way, in some aspects, just being like, I don't know, just chasing after people and crashing cars into shit and doing crazy stuff. He is definitely an action movie hero, but yeah, he's not your typical cop, that's for sure. Gary Busey, I mean, he's fine in this movie. He's kind of over the top. A lot of the characters in here are over the top. I mean, this came out in 1990, so this is the start of these types of like really cheesy, over the top kind of action movies. Not to say that we didn't get those before the 1990s, but 1990, like the 90s in general, they had a lot of just over the top cheesy things in a lot of different movies and shows. So, um, yeah, there's definitely like some of the music too. I'm just like, yeah, that's the kind of music you'd hear in the 90s. So, um, yeah, there were definitely a few things that I saw. I'm like, yeah, this is not like the original. I mean, it has a lot of things kind of calling back to the original and things being brought over from the events of the original. So stuff like that I like. Um, Peter Keyes, played by Gary Busey. He explains certain things that they know about the Predator, mainly having to do with his thermal vision. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see these things happen in the last movie, and maybe not everybody knows about it, but the people that should know, well, maybe not should, but the people that are higher up and would know about these kinds of things and know about it and are actively trying to do something about it. Whether Peter Keyes, his intentions are, selfish or, you know, for, I guess you could say selfish or selfless. You'll really have to watch the movie and see. But that being said, Gary Busey is a weird looking dude. I'm not even gonna shade him. Like, I'm not gonna be an asshole and be like, "Oh, you're a weird looking dude." But yeah, something about him just kind of creeped me out in this movie a little bit with some of the looks that he gave to Harrigan. I keep wanting to say Harrington, but yeah, Gary Busey. He's one of those guys who could play a creepy character for sure. Uh, Let me look at my other notes here. Flip the page. I already mentioned the stuff that was carried over from the first film. Uh, One kind of complaint I have is that by the end of it, maybe the last 20-25 minutes, they seem to really drag on. And, it's a Predator movie, so the whole thing of a Predator movie is that, at least in the three I've seen so far, the Predator seems like it's dead for a little bit, but then it comes back. It's obviously not dead because it's the Predator. And they do that twice. Well, maybe not twice in this movie, but it seemed like they were going to do it twice in this movie. And I was just like, oh my God, you guys are dragging this on so much. But by the end of it, it really, like, there are some crazy things that I learned in this movie that kind of lead into some other bigger movies, which I would like to say but for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I would like to, have you guys go watch it and see it for yourself. But I'm sure you can find breakdowns. So, you know what? I might as well just say it. I mean, it came out in 1990. There's probably a bunch of breakdowns online. And plus, I wouldn't really completely recommend this movie. But um, towards the end there, Mike Harrigan, he gets onto the spaceship that the Predator arrived in. And he sees a bunch of different kinds of skulls. He sees a human skull, of course. He sees some other sort of beast with huge teeth and whatnot. There's definitely a few different skulls, but you do see the xenomorph. I can't talk. The xenomorph skull from Alien. So the next movie to come out involving the Predator, I believe, will be both Alien versus Predator movies. I'm actually not going to watch those until I finish all the Alien movies, And I'm not going to watch the Alien movies until I finish all the Predator movies. By the way, I didn't even explain that in the beginning, but basically I'm going to be watching all the Predator movies, all the Alien movies, then finishing with the Alien versus Predator movies, and then doing a huge tier list for them. So I'm debating on possibly doing a ranking for the Predator movies by itself, and then maybe possibly doing that for the Alien movies as well, and then having a huge tier list at the end, but still kind of debating on that. But it will take a little bit for me to get through all these movies and review them and then get to that tier list. So it'll be a little bit, bear with me, probably like a month and a half at most. But I am going to try to get these Predator reviews out relatively quickly because there's only 4 movies to watch, really. So, well, now there's only 2. So, yeah, don't think I really have any other notes, but yeah, it did seem to drag on a bit. And then by the end, also, I forgot to mention, yeah, you saw the skulls and whatnot, but after Mike Harrigan kills the Predator, it seems like it's gonna come back to life, but no, it's probably just the body moving, like slowly dying or whatever. But a bunch of other Predators show up, and they don't kill him because that's not really the Predator way. Um, the way the Predators are is they try to find basically the apex predator, and this is the way I interpret it, at least, and from certain things that I've heard, is that they try to find the apex predator. If one of the predators gets killed, it's, they got to die in battle, and they got to die with honor. So I think that's partially why they didn't kill him, because it's like, you know what, it's not a fair fight right now because he was basically, surrounded by a bunch of predators. So that's not really the way they do it. They are predators at the end of the day. So they don't hunt things that are, that can't really defend themselves. At least in their sense. I mean, there's plenty of animal predators out there that go after like little bunnies and stuff like that can't properly defend themselves. But here, they fight with honor. So, yeah, I will say in this movie, the predator felt less like the predator I know and more just like a crazy killing machine, to be honest. I mean, it definitely had those moments of it actually tracking down its victims and having a fair fight for the most part, but at other times it's just like it seems like it's just killing to kill, and that's not really the way the predator does it, like killing people that seem like they're probably innocent. So I could be wrong. There might be some things that I didn't quite see close enough, but yeah, one last thing I will say, one huge compliment that I have to give to this movie is that while it might not be visually up to the standards that we have today, the fight scene in the train, where, I mean, you really can't see a whole lot, but just the way the lights are flickering, the Predator never felt more like a horror movie to me before. The other 2 movies, I mean, they have moments of suspense and whatnot, but at the end of the day, the first one and even Prey are more action movies than like horror movies. They're not quite like the Alien movies, which is something I kind of like about it. It sets itself apart, but and I can't believe I'm talking about this movie for so long because I really didn't like it that much. I mean, it's not bad, but yeah, I mean, that train fight scene on the subway, I guess he couldn't really say it's too much of a fight scene. I mean, they were just shooting at it and it was just killing everything. So, yeah, that was a really really solid scene, and I think some of the fights with Danny Glover's character and the Predator as well, I thought were pretty well done. So, overall, like I said, it's not my favorite. It's not as good as Predator. It's not as well, Predator 1987, that is. It's not as good as Prey. So, I mean, I hate to compare it, but at the same time, it's the same franchise. So I kind of have, and I'm going to be doing rankings and whatnot. So it's easier for me to think about it like, okay, how do I fully feel about this movie compared to the other ones? You know what I mean? But I think overall I'm going to give this movie a 6. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's not a horrible movie by any means. I mean, there's some good action and whatnot, but I mean, it's definitely not my favorite out of the other 2 Predator films that I've seen so far. I don't know. It's a little harder to explain why I don't quite like it as much, partially because it kind of dragged on at times, partially just because of how over the top some of the characters were. I mean, you don't get more over the top than the original Predator film, but at the same time, over the top in that movie was fun. Like those characters were really fun, and here it's just like, oh, these characters are over the top in the sense that they are just too much to handle. Like they're getting on my nerves. Bill Paxton's character in particular, Gary Busey's character, a little bit, but not as much. Um, but yeah, Danny Glover as the lead in this movie, the protagonist, right? Yeah, I almost said antagonist. The protagonist of the film. Is he as strong as Arnold? Or, I mean, let's not even compare it to Naru from Prey because, oh my god. But, I don't know. I don't think Danny Glover has as much of I don't even know what the word would be. But I don't think in this film in particular he has as much just badassery to him. I don't know. He has his moments, but at the same time, I feel like he had more badass moments towards the beginning of the movie when he was actually, fighting criminals rather than the Predator. With the Predator, I feel like he was just. I mean, he definitely got some good hits in for sure, but I don't know. It's hard to come close to what Arnold did in the first one, so I'm not. I'm gonna stop comparing it to that because I'm starting not to make sense at all. I know I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, it's getting kind of late. It usually is when I record, so it kind of makes for some fun audio, or not audio, you know what I mean. It's late. I'm going to go to bed after this. So, yeah, 6 out of 10 for Predator 2 from 1990. Did you guys see it? Have you seen it? Comment down below. Tell me what you think of the movie. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Have you not seen the movie? Did my review make you want to watch it or not want to watch it? Tell me why or why not. Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Pop Culture Podcast. Link in the bio of my Instagram page will take you to a page full of links, where you can basically find links to my TeePublic store, my website, my Facebook, Instagram, where to find my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that sort of stuff. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next one.